Coming up on today's show, I want to break down some of the draft rumors and buzz out there, stemming from Adam Schefter's latest article where he details everything he is hearing going into NFL draft week. So, we're going to recap it all on today's episode. But quick plug here for our live show on Thursday and Friday, rounds 1, 2, and 3 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Make sure to hang out with us. We'll be live doing pick-by-pick analysis, giveaways, a lot of fun. So way more fun than the commercials you constantly get over at ESPN. So join us this Thursday for round 1 as we break down the number 2 pick, which, speaking of, I'm going to spoil it right now. It's Travis Hunter. I don't think this is new information, and I'm not trying to pass it off as new information, but if you are someone who only starts to really pay attention to the draft the week of, I will tell you right now, the number 2 pick in the draft will be Travis Hunter. And I will also tell you, when his name is announced in Green Bay, Roger Goodell is going to say, with the number 2 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Travis Hunter, wide receiver and cornerback, Colorado. He's going to say both those positions, which will be a first. So kind of cool stuff right there. But let's get more to the, juicy stuff from this Schefter article about what he's hearing league-wide and Brown-specific. So Brown-specific, he talked about how Cleveland tried to move up to the number 1 overall pick with the Tennessee Titans. Here's what Schefter wrote. The Browns inquired about the possibility of trading up from number two, and the Giants at number 3 were even more persistent in their efforts to try to trade up for the top pick with Tennessee. The Titans have resisted those overtures and are expected to hold onto their pick. We are an Eddie Jackson pick 6 away, Eddie Jackson's interception away, really, in the Browns-Ravens game away from Cleveland having the number 1 overall pick and taking Cam Ward. But because Eddie Jackson and Kyle Hamilton, too, I think at one point, both dropped surefire interceptions from Jameis Winston, the Browns are now picking number 2. But my takeaway from this is not just a little joke on the Ravens DBs failing to, make the squeeze on a ball from Jameis in November of this season or this past season. To me, the Browns would not have been that aggressive to move up if they really liked Shedeur Sanders. So as we get towards the later stages of round 1, and Shedeur is going to be available, in my opinion, I would pull back on the throttle of, okay, the Browns are going to trade up now for Shedeur. They're going to trade up now for Shedeur. Oh, he's available at 25. They're trading up right now. If they liked Shedeur that much, would they have wanted to move up to number 1 for Cam Ward? Unlikely. So I don't see the Browns giving up a bunch of extra draft capital to move up and secure Sanders when they were trying to move up and secure Cam Ward. If the two quarterbacks were somewhat even in their estimation, don't you think they'd be comfortable with staying put at number 2 and taking Sanders? So that's my takeaway from that little nugget from Schefter. As for some trade rumors, Adam listed a couple of players to keep an eye on, including a Browns player of someone that could be moved during the NFL draft week. So I want to share that list with you. And let's start things off by looking at some of the players on the rookie contract still. So some trade candidates. Not all these names are going to have any kind of connection to Cleveland. Like Will Levis and Sam Howell, you might think, hey, they need a quarterback, right? But they traded for Kenny Pickett. If they wanted Will Levis or Sam Howell, they would have traded for one of those two guys. The Browns do need a running back, but it is a loaded running back draft class. So if there's one name to watch for, it'd probably be Travis Etienne, but I think they're going to be just happy to stay put with their current 4 picks in the first 3 rounds and use one of those picks on a back. As for all those wide receivers, the name that jumps out to me the most would be Treylon Burks. Jalen Hyatt, I cross off my list because the Browns passed on Hyatt, right, for Cedric Tillman. So to me, that says everything you need to know about the Browns' outlook on Jalen Hyatt. And then as for the other guys there, none of them were these big splash first-round picks, whereas Burks was, remember, he is the other half of the A.J. Brown trade. The Titans traded A.J. Brown away for the Eagles' first-round pick, which they used on Treylon Burks, who has nothing to talk about. I think Treylon Burks has more games played than receptions in his NFL career. So if there is one name that I could see Andrew Berry, buying low on, it would be the former first-round pick out of Arkansas because I mean, one, Barry loves trading for receivers. Two, he loves taking former first-round picks that teams view as washed or busts and using the Browns as a rehab for those players. So that'd be one name to keep an eye on. Okay, some other trade candidates to just keep an eye on that Schefter mentioned. So we got a pair of New York Giants. I think Thibodeau's on there because they haven't picked up his fifth-year option yet, which that's fine. That's not a red flag yet. But they also are looking at Abdul Carter in round one. So if you got Abdul Carter and Brian Burns anchoring your pass rush, where does Thibodeau slot in? Evan Neal just sucks. Tyree Wilson was a former first-round pick, top 10 by the Raiders. He has not really found a home in Las Vegas on that defense, and I feel like the Raiders with a new regime could be, open to trading away the former 7th overall pick. Then we got a Ravens player and Greg Newsome. Let's talk about Newsome for a second. We talked about with the Browns signing a corner, how this could make Newsome more available for a trade on our earlier video today or yesterday, depending on when you're watching this. So make sure you check that out as well. But Newsome is definitely a name just to keep an eye on. He's going into the final year of his rookie contract. It is a fully guaranteed $13.3 million fifth-year option. The lack of availability throughout his career is a red flag to me. I mean, he's had 3 seasons where he has missed at least 3 games, sometimes more. A handful of IR stints. He ended 2024 on injured reserve. He started the year off on the NFI list. So there have been a lot of injuries for Newsome. I think the only way he is dealt is if the Browns get a good offer. They could want to trade him. They might want to do that. But if they don't get a good offer, then they're going to hold on to him. But if a team calls that wanted a cornerback in the first or second round and just before they were on the clock, their number one corner was taken, they could then shift towards, hey, we swung and miss on a corner in round 1 and round 2. So let's give the Browns a call in day 3 now and give up our 5th rounder for Newsome. It's very dependent on everything I just said happening, where a team wants a corner, doesn't get one. So I can't say for absolute certainty whether he will or will not get traded. I will say for certainty that the Browns are going to have some level of interest in moving Newsome. Like, they are going to pick up the phone and listen to an offer. I don't think they hang up the moment they hear Greg's name come out their mouth. So it's dependent on whether or not a team gives an offer the Browns look at as, hey, that's probably a better draft pick than what we project to get next offseason if we let Newsome walk and he signs somewhere else, and the comp pick we would get as a result. The last name I'll throw out there is Evan Neal. I would throw up. You'd watch me throw up if this happens. He sucks, but the Browns like to take on project former first-round picks. Remember when the Raiders cut Alex Leatherwood, a former first-round pick? What did the Browns do? Bring him in immediately. They signed Tevin Jenkins, former second-round pick by the Bears in free agency. It would be very Andrew Berry-esque to go, hey, that's a former top 10 pick right there. Sure, for a 7th, why not take a chance on it? The issue is you no longer have Bill Callahan in Cleveland to help coach guys like Evan Neal. So I'm not very receptive or very on board with the idea of trading for Neal because he's trash. All right, before we move on to the rest of today's show, quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. So if you want to go see the Guardians or maybe you want to go to a Cavs playoff game, make sure you check out Game Time today. They have last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. True story, me and my coworker Jeffrey Cooperstein were talking about doing some trivia tonight, and he's like, I'm actually not going to be able to go to trivia. I'm looking at Game Time right now, and I can go to the Stars game for less than $50. So with Game Time, I'm now looking for a trivia partner, but Coop is going to the Stars game to watch them lose to the Avs. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. To wrap up the trade portion of the video, here were 6 veteran players that Schefter listed as guys that could be moved during the draft. Kirk Cousins, I think, is the most notable name of the bunch for Browns fans. You've got some AFC North guys right there. I don't expect Cleveland to kick the tires on any corners like Ramsey or Jair Alexander. I think the Kirk Cousins train to Cleveland has left. Maybe it stops, but the way we've been calling it is it's not dead, but it is severely wounded. So I don't have a lot of faith in a Cousins to Cleveland trade at this point. With Joe Flacco signing to the Browns, to me that signals Cleveland had a number in mind for Cousins, and Atlanta did not want to come down from that number, and the Browns didn't want to go up from their number, and they decided, hey, why not just go with Joe Flacco? He is going to cost us less, and we think he might even be at the same level as Kirk. Mark Andrews, just talking AFC North for a moment, I could see getting moved, but it's a pretty good tight end class. So why would a team trade for Mark Andrews when his stock couldn't be lower right now when you could just draft a younger, cheaper tight end? The answer could be if they were to swing and miss on a couple of tight ends they wanted in the draft but kept getting picked right before them. So in that day 2 to day 3 period, they decide, all right, let's pull the trigger on an Andrews trade. As for Hendrickson, I don't think a trade's going to happen because the Bengals don't seem very motivated to get a trade done. And if they don't get a trade done soon, by the time round 1 wraps up, unless the Bengals move off their mark for what they want for him, they're not going to get what they're looking for with the first round completed. So the timeline is very important here, and the timer's on. And if round 1 ends and Hendrickson is still a Cincinnati Bengal, when round 2 gets here, with every pick that goes by, the return that you could get for Hendrickson goes down, down, down. So for now, I'm going to say Hendrickson and Andrews stay put with their teams. Third and final topic I want to discuss on today's episode are the Browns drafting a quarterback. To anyone that's been covering the draft with us or following it, this is a no-brainer. Like, they're obviously going to select a quarterback at some point in the draft. They have 10 draft picks. Even if it's in round 6 or 7, they are taking a quarterback. But the bigger question is, when are they going to take a quarterback? And Schefter tried to answer that, saying, it feels as if Cleveland will not go quarterback in round 1 on Thursday. But nobody would be surprised if its next pick, whenever it comes, turns out to be a passer. I'm just going to go on a limb right now and say I am not predicting the Browns trade back into round 1 for a quarterback. I feel that the Shedeur Sanders hype might have just been a little bit too much smoke compared to actual reality viewed by NFL GMs. And while getting Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter would look really cool on paper and would satisfy a lot of Browns fans' draft wish list, I don't feel that it's very realistic Cleveland moves back into round 1, partially because of what I said earlier in the video. If they wanted to trade up for Cam Ward, that tells you a whole lot about what they view regarding Shedeur Sanders. Now, if Sanders is available at pick 33, that changes things. Now you're not giving up any extra draft capital to secure him. It's just using your 33rd overall pick. And I feel at this point there's a better chance than not Shedeur falls out of round 1. And that might sound a bit dramatic, but every year or two, there is a quarterback that gets, passed off as a no-doubt round 1 guy, and then they fall out of round 1 altogether. CC Will Levis, who was in the green room and did not hear his name until the start of day 2. Now, of the day 2 guys, I would rank them as follows. Jaxson Dart, number 1. Jalen Milroe, number 2. Tyler Shuck, number 3. I will add on, I don't really believe in any of these 3 quarterbacks. I don't think any of them are going to be a long-term starter for a team in the NFL. But the smoke right now is all around Jalen Milroe. Ever since Andrew Berry said he might be the only quarterback faster than Lamar Jackson, you know the way the Browns operate. They are a analytically driven team. And when you got a quarterback like Milroe with a rocket of an arm and extreme speed, that is going to catch a lot of attention from folks who make their decisions not based off of anecdotal like moments in the game, but more so based off of the profile. And when you watch Milroe play, there are a lot of moments that look like he is not an NFL quarterback. But when you go off of measurements, when you go off size, speed, and stats, that alone paints a great picture. As someone that watched a lot of Jalen Milroe and Alabama football as an SEC guy here from Tennessee or a Tennessee grad, I'm going to say that Jalen Milroe is not my preferred quarterback for Cleveland. I know that people have been making these, I think, somewhat lazy comps of, oh, he's the next Jalen Hurts. Is that just because he's got good legs? Is that really all it takes for a guy to be viewed as the next Jalen Hurts? So, and also, not to diminish Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts went to a great system in Philadelphia. He was a backup to begin with. He goes on to have an incredible offensive line. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley. If Jalen Hurts was playing in Cleveland with a not so good supporting cast around him, I don't think he is hoisting the Lombardi this past season. And I feel that Jalen Milroe going to a situation where he needs to be the guy versus he doesn't have to be the guy at the beginning because he's kind of got a great support cast around him, and then he can step into that role 4 or 5 years into his NFL career. Milroe could thrive. I don't think that's going to happen in Cleveland from the get-go. Jaxson Dart, a little background on him here. I feel that this is a better pick for the Browns, but not by a whole lot. Dart, to me, the biggest knocks against him are, can he make it in the NFL? Because what he did at Ole Miss is not going to transfer well to the pros. All right? If that's the biggest concern, sounds like you just need a good coach. That's their job. They are there to coach. I fear that sometimes fans feel that whatever the player looked like in college is what they're going to look like in the NFL, and that they can't get better. That's what coaches are for. That's what you're paying them to do. And so if the knock on Dart is, well, he ran a Mickey Mouse offense and he never had to make reads, fine. Give him a coach that can show him how to make reads. And if that's the only concern, then I feel that he's got a high ceiling. So I would prefer Dart over Jalen Milroe, over Tyler Shuck, but I don't think Jaxson Dart's going to be this world-class starting quarterback either. So those are the 3 quarterbacks just to keep an eye on at pick 33 and my rankings. But if my tone's not obvious enough, I'll spell it out for you. I do not have any confidence in any of those 3 quarterbacks being the Browns' quarterback solution for the next decade. So which quarterback do you think the Browns will draft? Let me know in the comment section below. Not who you want, but gun to your head, who is it going to be? All right, let's pick a card to wrap up today's episode. Reed, which card do you want to go with? Queen of Hearts. I'm going to go with 8 of Diamonds. Jack of Spades. Jack of Spades. I'll see you all later.